Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of Designing Your Life Live. I'm Savannah Peterson, your community manager, and I am super thrilled to be here, joined today by my dear friend and my writing accountability partner and my #1 design teammate, Jenn M. Choi on all the things. And we are going to share with you a little bit about our design partnership journey. And we committed over a year ago to each other and to making more together. And I'm going to let Jenn open it up a little bit with where she was at when she posted on Facebook and what happened next.
Hi guys, as Savvy mentioned, I love this girl. She's amazing.
Aww.
She's my design team partner. My name is Jenn, and well, I already said that, but just in case you didn't get it the first time. So I
Tell them about
was
yourself too.
By profession, I'm a communications consultant, and I help people create a lot of things and write, etc. However, I had wanted to write more, but when my mom died in 2017 of cancer, I kind of hit a creative block. Actually, before she died, I used to do videos and I used to write more. And so at the time that I reached out on Facebook to find a design partner and accountability partner, I was feeling extremely stuck. I knew that I wanted to write to help people with things like grief, things that I had experienced, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. So one day on Facebook, I literally wrote a post that said, hey guys, like I am stuck. Has anybody ever had a writing accountability partner before? Or does anybody out there have any advice for me? And this lovely lady here, Savannah, reached out, replied to my post and said, hey, I've been reading your stuff. I'm in the same boat. I also want to write more. Let's do this. Let's become accountability partners. And that's how everything was born.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible because I think that what's unique about our partnership, and this is something that I personally recommend for a lot of people, and I'm super curious. Let us know in the comments. Say hello. We're so excited you're here. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know what you want to know, any questions, any comments. And I'm super curious to know if you have a design team, how big your design team is, what's worked and what hasn't for you, as we share a little bit about our journey. And if you see me looking at my computer, it's not because I don't love you, it's actually because I'm looking to see your questions over here, so don't worry. This is all about us and this dialogue today. I think that sometimes people, and sometimes I think you can have a family design team. It can be a really fun activity for a family, or you can do it with your best friends. But I think one of the unique dynamics for Jenn and I was that we were friends and we were acquaintances, and I respected you so much before we started doing this, but I didn't know you in such an intimate way to where I think I felt like you would forgive me if I let you down. And I say that because I think it's a really important component of the experience is if you're going to have a design team and you're going to be accountable, it's super important that you are not going to let each other down. And sometimes that means a little bit of tough love. Sometimes that means that you have to be forgiving or have really fluid goals. If you haven't checked out our pieces on that, we'll drop them in the comments right now. But I think that it's such an important piece, and I really don't think that you get the same experience with the book or with designing your life in general until you have a buddy.
Yes.
So, all right, I'll be really transparent with y'all. Jenn is way more organized than I could ever hope to be.
Just a little bit.
I'm dyslexic. If anyone else is dyslexic out there, I blame it on that sometimes. But Jenn is the master and the anchor and the lifeline of our connectivity, of our consistency, of our documentation. So can you tell the audience a little bit about how you've done it and why you think that's been important?
For us, well, first and foremost, Savannah covered a really important piece about finding an accountability partner, and recruiting someone for your design team, and that is mutual respect. We really, really respected each other, and our personalities are actually quite similar. I mean, obviously we're different. We got blonde and brunette. Hello, we're different. But at the same time, we're both creative people. We're both committed people. And so we committed to each other. So that was really important. So we had that commitment, and that's great. But two people can work differently still. And as Savvy mentioned, I'm a little bit more on the organized side because I was previously a project manager.
Way more organized.
Just a smidge. Yeah. And so I think what makes an accountability partnership work, or having a design team work, is having just a little bit of structure in place. Enough that you can operate and enough that you're comfortable with it. So for us, what we did was we had a weekly recurring meeting on Google Calendar. So we met Mondays.
Crucial.
Mondays, we came from two different time zones, by the way.
Where do you normally live?
I live in Berlin, Germany.
Normally live. I mean, I guess that's where you live. And I'm here in San Francisco. If you haven't caught the newsletter or any of the DYL team is here in the Bay Area. So our time zone is 8 to 9 hours, no matter what. And I travel down to New Zealand a lot as well, which literally makes us 12 hours apart, which I think is extra special when we have those meetings. Anyway, keep telling them about your logistical awesomeness.
Magic. With all the different time zones, what was really important for our partnership was having a weekly recurring meeting. Not saying that everybody has to do it. We're just saying what worked well for us was just having something on calendar. We didn't have to think about it. It was just set up and it was automatic. So we had a we used Google Calendar to meet on a weekly basis, and we talk through Facebook video Messenger and sometimes phone through Facebook as well. And so we found that to be having one channel for our communications was really important and useful. And then I also, this is the OCD in me, the former project manager in me. We took notes as well in a Google document, not line by line. Hi, fellow German, hello.
Oh, love it. And hello, Chris from Brazil.
Yeah, hello, Chris. Hello, Katharina. Guten Abend.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, having a little bit of structure was important, and having we took some notes in Google Docs. Nothing too crazy, just like a couple lines per meeting, and that held us accountable. So sometimes we're talkers, we like to speak. Obviously, that's why we're on video now. But what was really important was having things written down so that we could hold each other accountable and say, okay, what were you going to deliver next week, or what did you need me to review on your drafts? What was the link? And so another benefit of having a Google Doc was just tracking your progress, because at the beginning we had no idea that this was going to extend for longer than a year, right?
No, and I mean, I'll be really, really honest. There are few things in my life. I mean, I'm a consultant. We're actually both consultants by day, and I consult on community building. You're not some one-off. I love you guys. Don't worry. But I think that there's very few things in my life that I commit to for a super long period of time, and I don't do that because I don't want to let people down. A lot of my contracts start at 90 days, and so for us in the beginning when we said we were going to do this for a year, I was admittedly just a little apprehensive that because of our time zone, because of our busy schedules, there was always an excuse to say no or to reschedule. And if you really want to make change in your life and have impact and have impact on somebody else's life and output, you have to not take those excuses to say no. And if you are going to reschedule or change, you need to make sure that you have an actionable plan. Try and follow up that same week. Or we have, and this has actually been great on some weeks it's just impossible and you have to forgive yourself for that. But we have been really good about doing written updates and at least reading drafts or giving each other feedback. So I think that flexibility in format and time of day can be helpful, but that consistency of weekly connection, I think, is actually really imperative. And I find on the weeks that Jenn is traveling, or like it's even like her birthday or something, I really miss her, and I miss her friendship as well as your feedback, because through our partnership, this ability to create together and have a really vulnerable, honest, and actionable feedback loop has truly changed our lives. And that's, we're not just blowing smoke. I'm not just saying that because I love Bill and Dave and I've worked on the book team for a long time. What's up, Marissa? Lovely to see you, girl. We got New York in the house. It's great. So, Jen, I want to ask, what about this? So I'm obviously biased as the community manager of the book here, so I take these kinds of partnerships seriously and have very few of them because I think it's important to focus on the right ones. What was different about this partnership for you? How did you approach this?
I think what was different about this partnership was that it was undefined from the beginning. And I think you can agree. I mean, we both wanted to achieve writing goals, yet at the same time, we didn't know what the hell that looked like. We didn't know what we wanted. Originally, we wanted to write we wanted to write a book. We thought we were going to write a book. It's comical. Just FYI, no, writing a book takes a long time. If anybody writes out there, bless you, we feel you.
+1 to all the authors out there.
Yeah.
Hard work. Also all the editors. Perhaps harder work. Yeah.
Very hard work. So in the beginning, we kind of just were like, well, let's just like show up. It was kind of improvisational. So I think that's what made a difference about the difference between this accountability partnership and something before. For example, I thought about marathon training. I had trained for a marathon before with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society team in training. There, you met every week, you ran with a group. My brother also joined for the marathon. You had a very clear end goal, which was to run 26 miles, and that was it. That's super clear. It is all defined for you. Even your training plan is defined for you. The difference with our accountability partnership was that it was undefined.
Completely undefined. We made all this up as we went along, and that's part of prototyping when you're designing your life. So we just kind of took it week by week, and as Savvy wrote in her article, it was really important to have fluid goals and keep things flexible. So, for example, if we couldn't make a meeting, we would simply reschedule and let each other know a couple hours in advance, a day in advance. We were not mad at each other if we missed any calls. No.
I mean,
you have to forgive. You have to forgive and really be accepting. Because unless someone just totally... but I don't think we ever really felt that way. I mean, the things happen. And sometimes you don't get to where you want to be or you're not available at a time, but we've always been really transparent about why we're at where we're at, and to the point of sometimes saying, hey, I'm just really burned out right now, or my priority is something different, but I'm here for you and I will give you all the feedback that you need, and I'll be there for any way that I can help you. And I think that's a really big part of it too. Even if you can't output, it's really important to be there for someone. I just want to make sure we catch a question that came in. Lovely question. How long were our meetings to begin with, and what are they now?
So our meetings, in the first meeting we had was 30 minutes because we were just, once again, that was a very discovery period of our accountability partnership. So in the beginning we had 30 minutes. As we started to actually talk about what our strengths were, what we could offer, what we wanted to do, as we started to review content drafts, actual drafts for our articles, we scaled up to 1 hour. And that's worked for the majority of our meetings. Pretty much 90% of our meetings have been 1 hour, and that's worked really well for us. But once again, it's the beauty of an accountability partnership is you and your partner decide what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's okay. I think something that I noticed that holds back the community and friends of ours even is people think they have to have the answer defined before they start working towards the goal. And the reality is it's far easier if you don't know what, you're right. I shouldn't say it's far easier. I should say it's completely okay if you don't have a specific goal defined that you're trying to work towards, but that, as the book says, you have a problem. So just start where you are. And your problem could just be that you want to make more content, or you want to be publishing more regularly, or you want to reach audiences through live video like this. We're happy to talk to you about that. But whatever that is, that's where you start. And then look to make achievable goals. I do think we really followed the DYL methodology here of setting the bar low and looking at each week as an outline and as draft, as an edit, rather than trying to, I mean, our initial goal was to publish one long form piece a month. We realized in the first month it was excruciatingly hard,
painful,
to get to the level that we wanted to be writing at, and to do that consistently. It's funny because I think in the beginning I was like, we could totally do one of these a week, and I think you'll disappoint yourself if you try and do too much too early and don't succeed. It's better off to say, I'm going to publish or create or press play or whatever it is once a month, and then surprise yourself when you can do more, than to let yourself down or your audience down by not doing quite enough. So I'm curious, as you're watching this, in the comments, definitely let us know where you're at, any questions you have, just because I see new people joining us right now. And also, let us know what's working for you and your design team, maybe what isn't working for you, and if you have any goals or outcomes from your work with your design team. Because I think that there are some really beautiful stories out there. If you haven't checked out our stories of lives well designed on the Designing Your Life blog, they're awesome. And if you want very specific logistical details, Jen wrote a fantastic piece. Again, I'll put both of our pieces, our companion pieces, in the comments, but it was great. I'll actually drop those in the comments right now. What parts of the book have you personally applied most to our accountability partnership?
I definitely think the thing that I took away most from the book was that it's okay to prototype. I mean, we're just kind of making it up as we go along, and that's okay. And the point is to just take the next actions. You don't know what your life is going to look like in a year. Your goals may be fluid, they might change. And so you have to be comfortable with prototyping, and I've really applied that from the book to our partnership, and also to my life in general, in that it's just okay. Just take the next steps, see what works. Some shit is crazy, some ideas are crazy, whatever, some proposals are crazy, and in the end, you just have to see what sticks and adjust as you need to. Yeah.
I think that's good, and I think that it's been so fun because so Jen was a life designer independently, and I don't mean to just tout the book, but I think it helps if someone's kind of interested in reframing problems, prototyping, design thinking. I think that can really help with your accountability partnership, because you had found the content through the Stanford Office Hours Online, right? The Life Design Lab Office Hours Online. And so when we intersected as friends, there was this really shared knowledge, and I think that's it's helped make some of our decision making really seamless. And when we have to adapt or adjust, it's awesome. Ooh, what's up? Hello, Chicago! You've got some fans in the house.
Hi, Dee. Hi, Gretchen.
Hello
from Chi-Town.
Love seeing that. That's super great. So let's talk about a couple moments when we've failed, and not necessarily failed each other, but failed in the classic sense of we had a goal with our design team and we didn't quite deliver. Do you have any that come to mind? I have a pretty embarrassing one that comes to mind.
Oh yeah, see, I don't see these things as failures. They're just,
I say it to be cheeky. I don't actually see them as failures either, but I think that people feel like they fail when they don't.
I felt like I failed when I couldn't deliver on a piece of long form content every single month, because I was like, well, how the hell am I ever going to write a book if I cannot even get an article? But shockingly, or not so shockingly, a well thought out long form piece of article that is researched, that requires multiple drafts and multiple outlines, actually took me about 30 hours to write, which is, I mean, that's crazy. And I had my client work at the same time. So because I could not deliver literally a long form article every month, I started to feel like a little bit of a failure, actually.
I think that, and in fairness, the piece that you wrote in the beginning was your first aid kit for losing a grieving parent, right? Or when someone loses a parent. So I think that actually, and I wrote about this, but I think it's an important thing to state, and I'm really glad that you just brought this up. So our accountability partnership started because we respected each other as people and as professionals, but Jen's decision to write about grief and about perhaps some of the most honest and raw and hardcore emotion that you could ever experience, losing your parents, and in particular, in this case, losing your mother. It was a real gateway into a I hate to repeat the word vulnerability, but it was a real gateway into this two-way street where we could be really open with each other and have open hearts and be very transparent in not only how we were feeling about our work and our output and what we were creating, but also how we were feeling. And not to make it kind of emo, but like there's been so many times and often simultaneously on our calls where we laugh cry, where there's like a kind of hysterical moment, and not hysterical in the super dramatic, like ugly crying, but in just a like, oh my gosh, am I being too emo about this? Is this too much about my mom? Is this expressing the right thing? And us empowering each other to say, no, actually, we need to be having these conversations, and we need to be open about the challenges that we face. So, so Jen's, I'll actually share the link specifically to her grief article if you want to check that out as well in the comments now. I just shared the link to her original piece about our partnership. My piece that I'll also share also talks about her grief piece in particular, but I think in defense of your sort of failure, you were writing an incredibly challenging piece for you personally that was about a massively difficult topic that most people don't talk about, that is incredibly useful and actionable for folks now, and it's lasting, it's evergreen. But I do think that it was an incredible wake-up call that this was going to be a lot harder. I was writing a piece about, it was my advice for Generation Z from a savvy millennial, and my piece was all about my 30th birthday, so I had a bunch of business baked into mine, a bunch of feels baked into mine as well. So I think we both realized that if we were gonna be writing long form about emotionally compelling stories and actionable advice from the heart, it was going to take us longer than we expected, and that was something that we were going to have to factor in when we were looking at our monthly output. So
exactly,
I do think that was awesome. I want to share a story about Jenn calling me out. So I think we talked about tough love a little bit earlier, but I think that's also important. So yes, we occasionally cry and braid each other's hair, and we're definitely there and each other's number one fan. I know, hey. But on the flip side, we are also super honest with each other in the critical assessment and evaluation and critique way. So I'll give you an example. So I have the pleasure of being a public speaker. I talk about topics that make the future less scary is sort of my goal. And so naturally, one of the things I've been talking about over the last year is blockchain. And I've worked in a lot of blockchain projects. Don't worry, I won't dive into the logistics here. If you are curious about blockchain, I'm happy to talk to you about it. But I was in the middle of a 3-continent speaking tour. I had just been in Denmark, I was in Portland, and I was on my way to Auckland at New Zealand. And I was about to deliver a presentation on on building blockchain communities. And then my piece for the month and then I was on my way to MC a blockchain conference. So the idea for my piece that month was to write a 7 reasons you're not too late to the blockchain party, sweet little article to wet people's whistle on blockchain, which should have been a simple thing. I love getting people excited about new technology. I like making it accessible. I like making it easy. And so I found myself writing the outline for Jenn because I didn't want to disappoint her really frantically from the back of this conference and in the dark on my laptop. And by the time we got on the call, I was in such a sour mood because I wasn't in the right headspace. I hadn't slept. My body had no idea what time it was. I was exhausted. I was cranky. I was hangry. And I sent Jenn a completely heinous outline for an article. And it was definitely the worst thing I think I've written. Apparently my dog agrees. For me, if you hear her in the background, that's Martini. I think it was definitely the worst thing that I had sent over for review over the course of our time together. And for whatever reason, because I was so out of it, I was actually shocked when we got on the phone and she's like, babe, this is terrible. And you know, and I say it in a good way, like you didn't really sugarcoat it. You sort of initially tried to give me some feedback, and then I got really sassy, and I just said, I don't really care. Like, I'm just trying to write it, get it over with. I just need to tick this box. And that was really not a thing that we approached this whole partnership with. And I think that was the red flag to Jen. And instead of sitting there and critiquing and trying to help me outline a better piece or try and turn my flaming garbage into something beautiful, she said something I'll never forget, which I thought was absolutely fantastic, and you need to remember this in your own partnership. What did you tell me to do?
Very important, you guys. Listen, this is like the key to a successful accountability partnership. I said, Savvy, go get a glass of wine. Yeah. You need a drink.
She said very sternly, I'll never forget on the phone, she said, you know what I think you need to do? I think you need to go get a drink. And, you know, she was right, because I was really stressed out. I was super maxed. I didn't have the capacity to creatively craft a message about future forward smart contracts and blockchain technology, and I needed a few minute break, and I needed to reset. And I was able to write the piece later, ended up getting it published. Everything was great, no problems there. But the reality is that you're gonna have to also give each other space and cut each other some slack sometimes with the partnership. And it's not about a laziness. It's not like she didn't let me output, but she recognized that if I continued trying to work through what I was working through at that moment, we were not going to succeed. And frankly, that the time on our call was going to be wasted. So instead, we were able to just talk about her work, focus on that. I went and got a drink. A few hours later, sent over a lovely piece for review. If anyone wants to learn about that, I'm happy to share that as well. But it was with, it was really a great moment. And I think that I want that to serve as a reminder that everybody looks lovely on social media, even if you have this lovely background like we have here, and you're trying to kind of keep that appearance going. But we all really feel like we're drowning sometimes. And your accountability partner can remind you of your strengths, of all the good things that you've created, and all that you're worth, as well as being this sort of output person. So you sort of become a pseudo-therapist, slightly less dramatic and self-centered, but there is definitely a therapeutic aspect to a good design team, I think, as well. Hello, Harley. Lovely to see you joining us from Michigan. And yes, totally agree with an open heart partnership. You can tell the heavy stuff too. It's so true. We've talked, let's see, so during our time together, your mother had just passed when we got together. You were kind of in and out of a relationship at the time. You're now fully committed. I was in a relationship, now fully single. We have managed to do our bicontinental partnership. We see each other when we can, which is pretty amazing. What are some of the achievements that you've seen as a result of our partnership?
I would put them into two categories. So I think there's the tangible stuff, as in like actually getting articles syndicated. Like Savvy had an article that was syndicated about New Zealand, for example. She's going to have a piece in her textbook, in an upcoming textbook.
Maybe my textbook. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. Maybe that was just a great Freudian slip. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we had articles that we could be proud of, and I launched a YouTube channel. And this is really significant because before my mom died, I liked being on video, but I couldn't write. I couldn't get on video again after she died. And because of our partnership, if we're talking about tangible things, then I was able to launch a YouTube channel and create videos to help other people. So that was the tangible stuff. Now, the intangible stuff is really the most important piece, I think. In the book, it says that prototyping is about building empathy and understanding. And exactly, we were able to talk about the really heavy stuff, go through my burnout together, just all these different things in our personal lives. Because we come as a package. Like, your partner comes as a package. They're a human person. They're not just your accountability partner. They also have a complete life and work outside of you. And so it was really important for us to know that part of the intangible benefit was just knowing that you have someone in your corner. It's kind of like having a coach.
It is a little bit. I think, it's no wonder to me that there's the Designing Your Life coaching program. If you haven't checked that out, or if you're interested in that, I definitely recommend it. Not just trying to plug it though. I mean, it makes sense. There's actionable tools, and it's made it easier for us. And I think because of the process, something that's really nice that happened sort of later in our journey and just talking about burnout a little bit is because we had a process. So after, I would say about, it was pretty quick. I would say after about 3 or 4 months, we knew we could count on each other. We knew that we were going to show up every week. We knew that there was going to be a consistent process for us to submit an outline to each other, or at least a topic, and talk about our focus. And we started to find our rhythm. And they say there's some psychological data. It takes actually 66 days to create a new habit. So definitely, if you're going to give it a shot, commit to 90 days with your accountability partner. Make sure that you set it up in a 90-day span. Not when you definitely don't have to meet in person. I mean, this is maybe only the 3rd or 4th time that we've physically met in person, believe it or not. Sad but true. So make sure that you can commit to that kind of time period. But so once we were in flow, I actually really surprised Jen in November, positive or negative, by getting really vulnerable. And we hadn't even really talked about it, but I have a very unique past and childhood, and I also have a real passion for poetry that I had never expressed to Jen. I studied it in college and then just apparently never told anyone about it. And so one week I was really inundated with a lot. And it was one of those weeks where kind of everything feels like it's crumbling down, and beyond drowning, you're actually not sure there's like a light. Like it just feels inescapable. And I was pretty depressed. And I woke up on the day of our accountability meeting, and I think I did. I actually had an outline for the piece that I was supposed to write about diversity and inclusion. Still haven't written that piece, for the record. But instead, I just couldn't do anything unless I poured out some thoughts about how I was feeling and about my quote-unquote daddy issues specifically. And so I jammed out this poem that was extremely raw, pretty hardcore, revealed a bunch of things to Jen that I don't think we had ever talked about before. And yet, I'll never forget when I sent it over to her, she took it with this deep breath and this really open heart and a ton of empathy, and not only gave me feedback about the poem itself in the same way that we would give each other feedback about any writing, but was super supportive of me as a friend. And I think that that's one of the other things too, is it's okay to turn in something different or to have a different output than you expected even if it's each week, not even at the end of your year, as long as you're still doing something that holds true to whatever the values are of your accountability partnership. And we wanted to produce better, more creative content.
Yeah, this woman right here is a master poet, just FYI, and she really, your ability to write from the heart is incredible. And I think part of having a successful accountability partnership or design team is creating a safe space. Like if you have a design team, you want to know that your ideas are appreciated, and whatever things you have to bring in the day, they're okay and they're accepted, and we can hold space and compassion for each other. And that allows for flexibility and fluid goals.
Oh yeah.
That level of empathy. And so I just felt honored that you were able to feel safe enough with me to share that. And then likewise, it's
we really feel that way.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really where you have to be at. Like whoever you choose, and I like this because I think a few folks were still joining us as we got talking a little bit about the selection process in terms of how we picked each other. But I'm glad that Gretchen brought this back up, and thanks, Gretchen. You've been a really active community member and commenter today. We love your comments, makes us feel awesome. I'm sorry, the yodeling in the background is my dog. That's just going to be a third part of the show, forgive us. But I think that choose someone that you're not afraid to be, and there's just no other way to say this, emotionally naked with. And it needs to be someone that you really that you feel desire to not have any sort of wall between, and that you need to have a safe creative space. I always say if you can't say fuck in a space, that you can't be creative in it. You don't have to swear, I don't want to offend anyone there, but the principle being you have to be able to say everything, and whatever those words are for you or whatever those topics are for you. This design team space is all about creating the best life for you, and one full of joy and love, and that isn't possible if you're not able to talk about the really hard stuff and the scary stuff, and maybe even push yourself to express about that. And even if that's just exercises in the book, or if you're interested in content creation in a more professional way, the way that Jen and I do it, it can go both ways.
So on choosing, because I think this is a really important point, I think that's actually, the number one thing to start with is finding your right partner. And some ways to do it is look at your circle of friends or your professional network. Is there anyone that you've really admired? Have you been engaged with whatever they've been posting? Have you had a friend where you just, whenever they said something, you're like, yeah, this person feels me. Exactly. When you feel that type of connection, which is what I felt with Savvy, then you know it's a good partnership. Then you can think, okay, I admire this person because they're doing this and I could learn from them. And then in turn, you have to have an offering too. So a successful partnership is where two partners, I mean, you're two people, you each offer something. It's not a take. One person is not the mentor and the mentee. You guys switch roles.
Right.
You guys are both mentors and mentees. So if you admire someone in your network, if you admire one of your friends, you think you can learn from them, you think they could help you with your goals, and you can help them with something, and support each other, then I think that's how you should approach your choosing.
Yeah. I think that's a really great point. And I think that don't be afraid to ask someone you might not normally ask, because I know, if you'd asked me 18 months ago, would we be partners and would we be co-creating and co-authoring now at this point and really cross-pollinating content the way that we are, I couldn't have told you that. But I think you just need to be open, prototype it. You may find someone through doing a life design conversation. And something that you just pointed out that I think is super awesome is speaking. We've talked. I wasn't expecting us to speak so emotional on this one, but it's been great. We've talked a lot about the feeling you need to have with your partner, but I think that's something that's also nice to consider. Logistically speaking, is we are both professional consultants and professional communicators, but we actually have complementary areas of expertise. So what's been nice is we can push each other in certain aspects of our content creation, and we can support each other in other aspects. Like Jenn saves me from myself regularly and makes sure that I'm organized, and I'm willing to push her voice a little farther and make sure that she's telling the story the way that she wants to tell it, not how she thinks the audience wants to hear it. And so that balance is really cool. Like, look at someone who you sort of see as your yin and yang, but still makes a really complete circle and unit for your dialogue. And it can be Bill really likes groups of 3. For me, I found that 2 was easier to coordinate. I think our schedules are so hectic, that's just what works for us.
Right.
But for others, 3 or 4 can be a really, really nice size. I love how many fans. If you're in the audience here just for Jenn, let us know right now. Give us the hearts right now if you're a friend of Jenn. I love it.
I love you guys. Thank you, friends, for joining. Hi, Laura.
It's very cute. All right. So if you could have avoided one mistake in our partnership that you think you've made, what would it be?
If I can be frank, I don't think we have. I don't feel like there have been mistakes in our partnership.
I wasn't expecting you to say that.
I'm being real. Like, I fuck up, and I have I'm the first person to admit mistakes. But I think the whole beauty of prototyping is I haven't viewed anything as a mistake at all, actually. And we have the space to just have self-compassion and be like, all right, cool. I didn't do it this week. Sorry. But I'll deliver something twice as good next week. And I just don't feel like there's been any mistakes. That's not to say that I'm perfect or that we are perfect. It's more so that the prototyping from the book and designing your life and just being a designer in general has really made me embrace that there really aren't mistakes per se. What about you?
I like the way that you're framing this, and it's actually almost a reframe, because I like it. I don't really see it as a mistake, but I think one of the opportunities for improvement that I personally see, just because I think we're both such storytellers, is I want to check in maybe once a month with a 1-minute video on our partnership where we talk about what we've created specifically that month, because you're really great at documenting and taking notes and making sure that we're tracking and looking at our ideas and paying attention to our creative process. But I think it would be really fun to talk about, kind of do, and not necessarily share them each month, but do a compilation maybe at the end of the year where it's us privately reflecting like, oh wow, Jenn really saved me from myself when I was at that conference. And I think that her piece, like that adjustment to her headline, really made it pop, and now we're getting syndicated by so-and-so. or whatever it might be, or maybe we do finally have the book deals. But I do think that documenting it a little bit more would be great, because reflecting on writing these pieces this last month was one of the more fulfilling things I think we've both done as a result of this. And it was super easy, for once, an easy piece to write. Yes, was writing about the partnership. And I think that that's something that we can continue to build on as the story grows, and hopefully as our collaborative narrative continues to grow.
Yeah, and I think sharing more of the process with you guys, the community, and just sharing more, because it was like, we mentioned it a little bit on our own to our friends, but not a lot of people knew what we were doing. And I think it would help to let others know that we're all going through the process together and sharing bits of that, even if they're not perfect.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And we share all learnings. Like if Jen finds a new video editing software or a cool, sweet new social tool, or figures out something really hip because she's in Berlin that I haven't figured out because I live in Nerdlandia, it's we exchange those ideas immediately. And if there's an opportunity for me to lever up or introduce her to someone, or whatever we can do to propel each other is done with authentic action and genuine intent, which is super great. We're getting some lovely questions. Keep them coming, folks. Just FYI, we have about 15 minutes left. So if you're curious to ask something, or you have someone who needs to see this dialogue, you want to tag your future design partner, by all means, please do. This is your moment. Gretchen asks, and I think this is a really, really, really great question. Do you find yourselves working with fear as you continue moving forward and out into the world? And if yes, what has helped you work with it? I think this is a great question for both of us, but particularly
Jesus, do you want to go first? I love the question though.
So I'll be honest then, and I'm so glad you asked this question, because I think as we both put ourselves out there more into the world, and one of our goals that hasn't changed is building audience. Right. So we are putting ourselves out into the world. I run a personal brand in addition to being your lovely community manager. So does Jen. We're both business owners. So there's a lot of out in the world, so to speak, that goes out there. And I think that something that we both do is, while we don't always identify it as fear, it might be identified as insecurity in our dialogue, or uncertainty about voice or what we're saying. I think we both really empower the other person to push forward and to go forth and do, and to have confidence in that voice. Like I remember when you were writing about your mom, I remember you asking me so sweetly one day, you're like, gosh, am I just like talking too much about my mom dying? And the reality was you totally weren't. It was a super essential point of the piece, but we can't always see the whole 360 around us, and it's very easy to have blinders on and get really heady and lose perspective on whether or not something is applicable to a greater audience. And so I think we both really do that with each other, and I think that you're great at with me, because sometimes I'm just feeling sheepish and exhausted because I'm kind of like 55% extrovert, 45% introvert, and I get a little pooped out when I'm on the road, and I need a little extra, like, you got this, it's gonna be great, like curl your hair, put your makeup on, get out there, put on some lipstick, and I kind of need that rally cry sometimes to keep going, because sometimes I think, does it even matter that I'm sharing this here or there? And you're like, wow, you're doing so great with distribution, and I'm like, I am? Oh, I didn't really feel that way today, but thank you for that. So I think it's the tangible compliment, and then it's also the kind of unexpected, like, hey, I got you, cheerleading. No, there you go. Hopefully you've had a second to think about it. And
that's exactly it. I think the fear in stepping out into the world is, as creators, we're very vulnerable. So we're on video, we're subject to trolls. Steph has taught me how to deal with online trolls.
Never
more,
read the comments.
But it's hard when you like I used to be a really insecure person, and I still have a lot of insecurities. And the thing I still struggle with, even though we may seem like confident people, am I good enough? Is what I'm saying good enough? Is my content good enough? And when you write publicly, and when you create videos publicly, or whatever it is that you're doing, you put yourself out into the open, and it can be very, very scary, actually. So I fear repercussion. I fear people thinking that I'm a fake, imposter syndrome. So there are these different kinds of fears in stepping out into the world. And what a partnership does, or a design team, whatever you end up choosing for designing your life, somebody is in your corner. Somebody is fighting with you. You're not just by yourself out there with a sword, which we just found an antique sword in my mom's house the other day,
which is super cool.
Is hilarious.
Be friends with Jenn on the internet. You'll see it.
I'll show you
her. Follow her on Instagram. Where to see the sword?
Jenn M. Choi. There's a badass sword on there. But with that, with a partnership or design team, the world becomes less scary because you know that somebody is rooting for you and that you're not doing this on your own. So I hope that answers your question.
I actually think that was an excellent question and sort of like a self-hype to us, but it's true is I feel like we're fighting fear with confidence and with love, and that is a product of our partnership, and that makes it less scary. And yeah, I mean, of course we have scary moments. I mean, I do national television sometimes. Like, there's 10 million people out there. At Public Speak, there's 1,000 people out there, and it's something that I love, and I'm in flow. But trust me, like, I have those moments where I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna look fat? Are they gonna think I'm interesting? Is it gonna be enough? Do I have enough makeup on? Like, it's a lot, and I think it's a lot more than we all realize, and we all have those kind of scary voices in our heads. So I'm really, really glad that we brought that up. Holy moly, we're getting so many comments. I have to like scroll through them right now.
We're catching up here. You guys, if you have any more questions, we freaking love questions. That's why we're here. We're here for you guys. So let us know if you have any more.
Oh yeah, no, this is fantastic. Okie doke. So let's see. We have a question. Oh, we've got folks from North Carolina. Hello. Glad you're liking our mistake perspectives. All right, could we talk about goal setting, accountability, call structure, if someone doesn't keep their word on a goal they set for themselves, in terms of goal setting and collaboration, celebration? Brenda, great question. And I linked to it a second ago, but I'll share the link right now in response to your comment as well. I wrote a whole article on the specifics about fluid goal setting and really what we learned from that. Jenn's piece outlines kind of step by step what our logistical approach was, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, and I think that'll do a little bit of a deep dive. But it's interesting because I thought there's this voice in my head every time before I go into a meeting that's, I don't want to disappoint Jenn, and I don't want to waste her time because I know how valuable that time is. And I think fundamentally, if you have that structure, the rest sort of falls into place, because you will do the outline you need to do. You will do whatever you need. Yeah, no worries. You were late, Brenda. Totally happy to give you all the links.
We love that you're here.
Yeah, you can.
We love that you're here.
And the replay will be available immediately after this, so no sweat. And it's a good thing to talk about. We do recommend. I saw you had another question, Brenda, about leveraging the book and having a group. Group size really depends on what you want. So we've found the one-on-one works really well for us. Some people found that even groups as big as 12 or 15 in some of the bigger cities that we've connected do really great. Advice there is definitely just to prototype, and don't feel bad if you have more than one accountability partner you try out and maybe one doesn't work. I think we've all sort of been there with people and tried to make things happen before. So don't beat yourself up if it's not the perfect fit, or if it's not, a great driver of output day one. It takes a second to really drive your, to really get there. I don't know, just be forgiving of yourself and understand that change takes time. And so that leads me to my next question. Did you think that we would be here where we are now when we started a year ago?
No, I really didn't. I mean, we were just we just decided to do it. We're like, okay, let's take the first step forward. Let's meet. I had no idea that you would become one of my best friends.
I didn't know that either.
Like,
that was totally unexpected.
Yeah,
and sweet.
We spent your birthday together. Like I had no idea that we would be this close. And Savannah was not one of my close friends before this partnership. We had known each other online. We had admired each other's stuff. We had met like in passing a few times in person, but I had no idea that this was a woman that now I could count on, not only for my creative work, but also for support. I know that I have somebody who's really there for me. I couldn't have predicted it. I don't know if you were able to see this into the future at all.
No, I think that's really something unexpected, and that's one of the greatest gifts. Like when when I look back on the last year of my life, I think the thing that I'm proudest of just as a human are my friendships and my relationships that I have. And when I looked at the most unexpected and new addition to that, you were number one, and just such a treasured gift, because I feel like not only is my heart full, and in terms of my love, health, joy, and work dashboards filling up in different ways, but our partnership actually impacts all of those. And I can't think of too many relationships in my life that can positively lift each one of my gauges, which I think is super special. So as we wind down, one last reminder to send us your last questions, give us your last hellos, tell us what's up, what's on your mind, who your partner is, whatever that is. What are your 3 tips for someone thinking about getting an accountability partner as a result of watching this conversation or reading the book and wanting to build a design team?
Wow, that's a good question. So I think I would approach it maybe not in terms of tips, because we have a lot of tips in our articles already, but maybe more so after you watch this video, what are some next steps that you can take that are actionable, that are feasible, actionable? So I would say define what it is that you need help with. What is a goal that you want to achieve, this year or long term? What is the thing that you want to be held accountable for? So define that would be step 1. And then the next step would be think about who in your network or your friend circle or wherever, who could possibly help you with that, and what could you give them in return as well. And then after you've defined the what and the possibly who, the third step would be to ask. So I had no idea that it would be Savvy who would be my accountability partner. I posted on Facebook. I had no idea that she would respond. So asking is really, really important to get started. You have to ask and you have to put it out there. And amazing things happen when you ask.
I think that's great. One of my token lines is you can't get what you don't ask for. And I think if you're just kind of hoping someone may come around and say, hey, let's hold each other accountable, it might not be the best move. And I think that I love that you can actually, if you go to Jen's piece, you can see the original Facebook post that she posted and my comment on it, December of 2017. So it's quite fun to see, it is authentic. It does happen over time, and it's very real. A place to start that's great, if you're watching this and you're not already a part of our Designing Your Life private discussion group, or a part of our coaches and mentors group, if that's an industry that you're interested in or a part of, it's a great place to start. Like I mentioned earlier, that fundamental connection between life design philosophy and design thinking and our ability to collaborate together has made a real difference. And I think that finding people in that community, whether you're the one who introduces them to the book as a gateway and as an exciting place to start, or whether you find someone in your area existing in our community, that is an easier barrier of entry, because then you have shared material. So the book is a great tool. You don't have to go through it in order by any means. We kind of go back and forth through it. I know you just recently reread the whole thing. I sort of have my favorite exercises I find myself doing more often than not, because I'm a little bit of a creature of habit when it comes to my creative process, admittedly. So I would say start in our groups if you're looking for somewhere to start, or start by looking around in your network and see the people that you admire and think, I wonder if there's something I could add of value to that person. And maybe, we happen to be close in age and industry, but you can have a really diverse design team as well. And I think that can also be super helpful. And just take the first step. Don't worry about having the answer, the product, or the book deal day one. Just start where you are and really have fun with it. I mean, I think that would be my last actionable step, is have fun and understand that whatever you're creating or doing can take a lot of different forms, and whether you're accountable because you're working out, or because you're writing, or because you're crocheting blankets, whatever it is that makes you happy and puts you in flow, make sure that you're really maxing out that joy meter when things are working, and even when it's hard, that you're still filling up your heart, because at the end of the day, we get one life, and it's never too late to design it. So Jenn M. Choi, where could people find you if they want to read your work, say hello, say thank you for this wonderful chat that they just experienced?
Let me first thank you for watching. Hello, everybody from around the world. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Medium, and YouTube at JENNMCHOI. Jenn M. Choi, across all channels.
Love it. Love that. Love that. Cohesive branding. Branding was actually something we worked on with Jenn. We won't go down the rabbit hole too far, but let's just say now Jenn is very findable across every social channel under the same name. That was not the case a few months ago. Anyway, and we all have our social skeletons. Let's just put it that way. My name is Savannah Peterson. I am so grateful for all of you for being here from all over the world. It really makes my day and my week and my month as your community manager for Designing Your Life, and frankly as an individual today, talking with you honestly with my fabulous design team and accountability partner and my dog Martini in the background yodeling. It is an honor to share with you. Thank you all for your support. Don't hesitate to reach out to me always, or to Jenn. She's in our groups. I'll tag her if you have any specific questions for her as well. My name is Savannah Peterson. You can find me on all of our Designing Your Life pages. You can also find me more personally at Sav is Savvy, SAVISSAVVY, on Medium, Twitter, Instagram, and my YouTube channel is Savvy Millennial. If you know how to spell millennial, bonus points. Some people don't, but I think you'll find me either way. I thank you all for being a part of the Designing Your Life community, both on behalf of myself for tuning in to watch Jenn and I, and also on behalf of the entire Designing Your Life team. Thank you so much from Bill Burnett, Dave Evans, Kathy Davies, Susan Burnett, everyone else supporting our coaching events, our women's workshops, our DYL live shows. And if you have a story you want to share with us, don't forget to reach out, because it's your stories that inspire us every day. Thank you all so much. Savannah and Jenn signing off from DYL Live.
Bye guys. Thank you so much.
Mwah.